all of this happens just off the river. So it's like you'd come off the river, you'd access the village, and then the village spans all the land behind the river in that what they've cut off for themselves as a village, and that's how they live. And it's like no question that they are the custodians of these ancient plant medicines, because they put up with a lot to be there. It's very easy for me to get lost there. So it took me quite a while to just get the village right and to understand the village and the energy of the village. Um, but yeah, so what I call jungle deep, um, they can access from the village. It's about 6 kilometers away. But I saw a tribe where they are blossoming. The families are blossoming. They have lots of children. They are secure individuals. They respect each other. They love each other. They work with these medicines regularly. I never saw fighting. Tribe call it Kambo, and it's an amazing healing that it does for the body. But what happens is this frog, I think it's also called the tree monkey frog, and it's a frog that secretes a poison slash medicine from its skin. So what they do is they open up what they call gateways. They'll open up one layer of skin and they'll put a bit of the medicine onto that layer. They'll open another layer, they'll put some medicine. As the medicine goes into the body, and as it goes into the body, it starts scanning the body, and it starts checking in the body what's waste and what's not waste, what needs to be there and what doesn't need to be there. These medicines are technologies, like you said. I have this strong belief that the creator of this universe has put these technologies there for those people to come across who are searching, who do want to have better lifestyles, better life within themselves.
Greetings, seekers of ancient wisdom. We're back again with our guest who has returned from the Amazon jungle. Moshe from the Hape couple, you have gone deep into the Amazon jungle, deep into history, to live with the Huni Kuin tribe for a month, one of the oldest tribes on our planet. And you have come back with knowledge to share with our modern society. So Moshe, welcome back and thank you for your knowledge and willing to share it with us,
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much. Thanks for hosting me.
So Moshe, the last time we chatted, you were going on a trip. You were about to embark on this great journey to South America to spend, I think you said, about 48 hours of travel time, just to get to this very secluded village deep on the border of Peru, is it? Peru and...
Yeah, Peru and Brazil.
So tell us about this journey that you went on and the time that you spent with the Huni Kuin.
So wow, it was a really incredible journey. Very tough journey, not simple in any matter. The travel, like we said, the travel was a flight from South Africa to Sao Paulo, and then within Brazil I had to take 2 more flights, which was about another 10 hours in flying time within Brazil, so just within the borders of the country. That's how enormous Brazil is. And then I went on a 9-hour car drive to get to like a city, beautiful city that's just before going into the Amazon jungle. And that's sort of like the port city. So over there, that's where I got onto a boat. And then when I say a boat, it wasn't like a boat. It was a tiny little boat with a small engine. And then we went on that boat for about 18 hours on the Amazon River until we got eventually to the village of the Huni Kuin. So that was like the travel time. So it was like once I had arrived, and I knew I was now at the village of the Huni Kuin, because the minute I got off the boat and I walked up the riverbank to get to where the village starts, there were just thousands of mosquitoes.
That is so awakening to your entrance into the jungle, right? This this swarm of mosquitoes, like almost waiting for you. knowing that Moshe is arriving. But you created a WhatsApp group soon upon arriving, yeah, with the Huni Queen, and you started sharing pictures, and it was just so amazing to see, like, a fully functional village. You know, it's not something we see in the movies. You actually were in a real village that had probably been living like this for thousands and thousands of years. There was a touch of the future there. Like, I could see, people wearing Western clothes, some of them. There were sunglasses here and there. There was like a few little equipment and technologies sprinkled, I would say. I could catch glimpses of them in the pictures and videos you shared. But in general, it seemed like it was really, they lived like they did 1,000 years ago, in terms of how they interact, what they do on a daily basis, how they get food, you know, how they cook, um, how they just live, right?
So yeah, it was an incredible experience spending time with this tribe and also going through this understanding that like they've also developed over time. You know, it's like the 21st century. They've met Europeans before, and they've had interactions with the outside world, and they've developed some, but they've kept their traditional land, and they've kept their traditional way, and they've kept their wisdoms. They've kept from teacher to student, and it's going through generations. I mean, I spent time with my page. A page is a healer that comes from the land over there. Healer, and he's been taught over time all the different medicines, and he's spent time with the medicines. He's had dietas, he's lived with the medicines, each one individually, over time. And so so the tribe now would view him as like someone who's a healer of the village. That's really what a paja is. So I spent time with my paja's mother and father, who are essentially the chief, and the chief and the main providers of this village. And so essentially their space had a generator. That was like the engine room of this entire village. And then there were other houses. So there was like we lived in houses. There were little wooden houses that were off the ground, so that if the water overflows, if there's snakes, anything like that, it doesn't go into the house. And there would be two houses for like two families, or three or four families that would live together in different houses. They all have their own space and all private space, but it's all clustered together. And then they would have a maloka, which is like a circular venue for meeting, for ceremonies, for healing processes, and for gathering, for communication about the village, all of that. And the maloka would have a fireplace in the middle of it. And then there would be like 100 meters down on the left side, and there would be another two houses with another little maloka and a family over there. And then there'd be like another 100 meters down. There'd be another little setup with a couple of houses and a family there, and they would also have their own little healing space over there for themselves and for their family. And then that would continue throughout the village, and then there'd be like a part of the village which I call this like the village's jungle, which was like a little section of the Amazon jungle that they've sort of, in their own way, tamed back and made it theirs and preserved it more, and so it's less wild. It's not like wild Amazon jungle. It's a bit tamer. So whenever I walked there, I walked by myself. I wasn't afraid of a jaguar. I wasn't afraid of anything happening, because I knew this was like part of the village's access to the jungle. And at the center point of that jungle part, there was this massive summer tree, huge, enormous summer tree, and that's where they do all their rituals and all their. If someone's like growing within their life cycle, they'll do a process over there. If it's an initiation, or a teaching, like a developmental teaching in the medicines, it will happen over there. So that's like their access point, and they see this tree, this big summer tree, as the tree of life, and they say that whatever happens underneath that tree, that's like a connection point up to the higher realms. So that's where they see it as like a special sacred space of And it's quite impressive. I mean, once I'm walking into that space, all of a sudden I can feel this incredibly like large energy. And then I'll look up, and all of a sudden there's this massive tree with these roots that they like sort of span over 5-6 meters going through the ground, and it's just so. And then from that point, I'd walk a little bit further out, away from the tree, and through another part where they would have in their village a massive maloka. And now this maloka is for all the different houses when they come together as a village, like the entire village. Then they'll come and they'll drink different medicines in that maloka as a village. And then my paje, his family constructed another maloka for the village. And that one, if you walk like say another 50, maybe 100 meters down, you'll come to that maloka. And that's an impressive maloka. It's massive. It could probably fit like 300 people, maybe, you know, comfortably in that maloka. It's really, really, really big. And then it has stairs that go up to like a second floor. And then there's a staircase, all built with wood, all wood and like really simple and basic, like but sturdy and strong. And then it goes into a third floor of this maloka, and there's like a hammock at the top over there, and there's an aerial view of the entire village, the entire Huni Kuin village from there. And always eagles in the sky, always vultures in the sky. It's like a normal thing, like how we see, you know, hardy-dars in Joburg. That's how they are, like eagles and vultures. So and then from that point, I would walk more along the village, and then have like an agricultural spot where they now growing their own types of medicines and lots of different fruits like papaya and banana, sweet cane, sugar cane, um, and then there would be like, and then all of this happens just off the river. So it's like you'd come off the river, you'd access the village, and then the village spans all the land behind the river in that what they've cut off for themselves as a village, and that's how they live. And they move through each other's homes, and there's no lock, there's no doors, there's no electric fencing. Everyone's cool with each other, everyone respects each other's boundaries. They've got an incredible understanding, just living and understanding. That's what I called that WhatsApp group that I made. I called it natural harmony, because that's what I was seeing. I was seeing natural harmony. I was seeing how the hornet and the butterfly move amongst each other, and they're not hurting each other. They're cool, you know. And how it was like I saw a lot of that, but within the tribe themselves, there's just a natural harmony. So just something amazing about the tribe is they all have their own specific gifts and specific roles. Some are incredible musicians and shamans or pages and space holders. Some aren't really holding that role at all. And I wouldn't know what sort of title to call them, but let's say, for example, they could be someone, and it's a really important thing, but like a collector, in the sense of not money or financial, but collecting medicines, because not all the medicines grow right over there, and certain medicines you have to go deeper into the forest to get them, and that requires it takes time, and if it's raining, if it's not raining. So there's a team of people within the village that they just identify with this role, and they just run it, and that's their thing. So if they need Sananga, if they need Hape, if they need, you know, they'll speak to one of the guys, and he'll go out and he'll go source materials, now not from a stock room or from other people, but from the jungle. They'll collect this, they'll collect that, they'll collect what they need, and then they'll come back, and it'll take them a day or two or whatever it takes, and they'll come back, and all of a sudden there'll be all this raw material. Now they can start making medicines. All they'll go as like a crew. So they'll all go, say maybe one man will stay behind, or sometimes no one stays behind, and the whole village is just filled with women and children. And or generally the grandfather, you know, he generally stays behind, but not in every case. Sometimes, because a grandfather in the village isn't like that picture of like an old man who's sort of bent over. Grandfather's fit and he's strong, you know, he's like healthy in his own right, and he's like really super looking young, and he's buff, and you know, so there's this knowing of roles and place, and there's just this flow, there's this natural harmony that the people have over there. And so yeah, they have got, some of them have cell phones, some of them don't, but I want to tell you, they don't have access to Wi-Fi. The only place to get Wi-Fi would be at the family that I was staying at. If they put on a generator, which happens sometimes, they'll get Wi-Fi. And the other option is an 18-hour boat ride on the Amazon River where there's no Wi-Fi at all for that to get to a place where there's Wi-Fi. So, and then what actually happens is the village I was at, we would have like a span of, let's say, 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers of Amazon forest, and then there'd be another village with its own way. They could be from the same tribe, but they're running their own things. They're taking care of each other in their own ways. So it was like pockets of villages and pockets of wisdom, but they're keeping it. It was just unbelievable. It's like on the river, when we're going on the boat on the river, coming to the village or going from the village, the love that they have between each other. There's no hooting. Do you know what I mean? There's no hooting at each other. It's like they actually, when they come past each other, even if they don't know each other, they'll stop. They'll check, like, hey, do you need anything? Yeah, I'm short Rizzler papers. Okay, cool. Here's Rizzlers. Hey, do you need anything? We don't have a lot of water. Oh yeah, here's some water. And just on these little boats on the river, they'll just help each other with whatever's needed. To the extent that I saw a guy, and this was on my first day, like going on the water, and I was like at the end of my traveling. I just wanted to get to the village and like start my real traveling. And the guy who was riding the boat, he just saw someone whose boat's motor had broken, or the guy didn't have gas or petrol, or he was just stuck. So he came over and he tied him to our boat, and he towed him for about, like 25, 30, 40 kilometers, and then dropped him wherever he needed to be, and then we carried on. So there's this absolute love and connection between these people. And it's like no question that they are the custodians of these ancient plant medicines, because they put up with a lot to be there. Like they really put up with a lot, and they've conditioned their way. Like where I had to be covered up completely, they were completely like open and not worried. Where I had to have like 2 pairs of socks and my pants tucked into my socks and my shoes on at all times, they would be barefoot. And their physical development is like unbelievable. Their feet are strong, and their ability to do just like masculine chores is just unbelievable what these guys do. So yeah, they're hunting, they hunt, they eat all types. They eat like they do eat domesticated. So if they have the opportunity, they'll be able to go to a farm, and like someone on this whole riverside has some cows, and they'll do a deal and they'll get the cow. That's one way, and they'll slaughter it right there and then at the place, and they'll divide the meat and clean it and cut it and all that. Like, and then the entire village will just come from all over and collect their piece of meat and like walk back to where they came from, and then have it with their own private family. And so they're like just completely, whenever the people I stayed at, whenever they got some form of abundance, and I saw it happening the whole time that I was there, they would take this abundance and they would just share it between the entire village. It was something very special to witness. And just one more thing on this is that when it came to medicine making time, the entire village became this medicine clockwork of like, it was just unbelievable, of people knowing their roles, what to do, how to do it. And if someone wasn't involved in the making of the medicine, then they were involved in keeping the energy of the making happening. And if that meant through music or whatever it was that they were doing to keep this thing going and to keep the energy and to keep the movement happening. So everyone was involved. It was just unbelievable. They're like a unit. It's not one person, it's an entire village. So I went because my introduction and my invitation was from one person, which I'm very grateful for. But really, I got to know and they got to know me, but it was an entire village. It was a lot of people, a lot of energy, but they're very to themselves, and very respectful, just very respectful people. So yeah, it was special. It was very special.
It sounds extremely, extremely special to be able to experience that, right? There's just oneness with their environment. And just before I continue asking, was their village fenced off? Is it like, did they have a fence around the whole village between them and the jungle?
No, no. So actually, what I call the jungle, like gentle, where I was just with the village, where the village has sort of got its own little section. So from there are pathways which I went on, which takes us into what I call the jungle deep. Okay, jungle deep. So jungle deep is about probably like 6 kilometers from the village. But they've kept it sort of tamer around the village because they don't want to have special visitors and guests and stuff. They'd rather have more space and know the terrain around the village so that they know that they're keeping the people safe. But they also have pathways from that point, which I only went on those pathways when I was with them because I would just get lost. It would, it's very easy for me to get lost there. So it took me quite a while to just get the village right and to understand the village and the energy of the village. Um, but yeah, so what I call jungle deep, um, they can access from the village. It's about 6 kilometers away, and there's a pathway. Once you pass the summer uma tree, instead of going back around the village to where the rest of the village is and the agriculture and all of that kind of stuff, you carry on straight, and there's a pathway. So I did that with my page's father, and we walked through that part into the deeper village, actually to find one of the ingredients of the 7 herbs, hape, which was a specific leaf. I can't remember the name right now, but the leaf we found was like like a lightish green on the outside and then gold on the back side of the leaf. So and it's quite interesting because the 7 herbs hape is a golden sort of tinge color. So that specific leaf is the one that gives it that color and that sort of shine. So I went into the jungle deep. Also, we hiked for, I mean, it's hard for me to tell in kilometers, but I do a lot of hiking, so I have an idea of hiking. So it's probably between 14 and 18, maybe 20 kilometers through the jungle, where they were walking with like pangas and cutting the way. Um, and we were sort of, so it seemed like there was a path there. So there was a path that they knew about. It was probably a path they had created, but it didn't look like it had been walked for a long time. So they were sort of cutting through the path as we were walking, and we walked probably 14, 15 kilometers, somewhere around there, and then it started raining. And as it started raining, I started to worry and started to think to him like, I didn't bring a rain jacket. I've got nothing to like. And it started like gentle raining, but then it started really picking up. And like by that time, I was like really concerned. The chais, all the guys I was with, they had already cut up palm leaves and palm trees and positioned them in such a way that I was in this completely sheltered hut with these like banana leaves as the base, and then these palm leaves as the top, as the roof, and we were all there and we just chilled there for an hour and a half, and this rain was coming down and we were dry, completely dry, and the rain stopped. And then we walked about 2 kilometers and we found a huge, massive vine of ayahuasca vine, which is called the Banastropus carpi vine, now just like shooting out of the ground in the Amazon. So they just like, so then that's what we were looking for. So they came and they cut that. Um, and even that process was like incredible. Like they didn't bring bags to carry it back with, or anything like that. They cut it right there and then. They clean it right there and then. They leave everything that they don't need. They then cut strips of bark off a tree that's just next to the ayahuasca. They just see the tree there right there, and they cut off the bark. And through the bark, through these strips, they make these bags. and they tie up the vines that they've just harvested, and they make a handle, and then they just put on the shoulder, and that's it. And each guy takes, a couple of those, and then they back to the boat, back to the river, back to the village. And the minute we get back to the village, the whole village is there, and they receive the medicine. And you can see this one guy who's like more in charge of what's going on, and everyone else is a support, and everyone understands that. I couldn't even speak the language. I understood that. And then the process starts, and they start beating the vine and preparing it, and all of a sudden there's this big brew that's happening. And for them, something like that's a regular thing, to just prepare brew, and then within their community, like maybe twice a week, once a week, twice a week, they'll have the whole community will come together in the village, or clusters of the houses will come together in one person's maloka, and then they'll drink medicine together, and they'll work through whatever each person together without speaking to each other. They'll have one Page who will lead the energy of the process for 2 hours with his chanting and with his singing and whatever he's bringing forward. And then he'll pass it on to another guy, and he'll lead it for 2 hours, and then he'll pass it on to another guy, he'll lead it for 2 hours. It was fascinating, because it's like in the West, um, people can have this tabooed attitude against plant medicines and what they're about, and they have, like, there's still this constricted consciousness that, like, there's no separation between drugs and medicines. It's just all seen in one thing. But here I saw a tribe, um, and I understand that this is what they need for where they are. But I saw a tribe where they are blossoming. The families are blossoming. They have lots of children. They are secure individuals. They respect each other. They love each other. They work with these medicines regularly. I never saw fighting. I never saw, I saw children being like real children playing around, and everyone was fun. And so I saw their hardship as well. I can understand that as well. I mean, it's like they they literally living off the jungle and whatever they can get, from. So I saw like that aspect, but within that, there's just absolute abundance, and so they taught me a couple of things which are really, really crucial, like little points that I learned. Um, and these might be simple for everyone, but for me, these are like real lessons for me. Is the one thing is tranquility. So tranquility, and for each person will be different, depending on their spiritual understandings, on their religion or their faiths or whatever. But really, what tranquility is a belief. It's a belief that, like, I can actually be tranquil in everything that I'm doing. I don't have to be hyped up. I don't have to be worried, because I understand that, and for each person will be different depending on their faith. But I understand that there's a creator who's running the whole show. And obviously I have free choice, and I have to do my part and do my thing, but really tranquility, like everything's okay. Things will happen as they're supposed to. Things will flow when they're meant to. If there's a lot of fish today, great. If there's not, okay, we'll try again tomorrow. It's like tranquility. It doesn't matter if there's a million mosquitoes biting, or if there's, just, we're going to find the joy. And that was the second teaching. We're going to find the joy. And I really saw what that meant, like, because they say things like, so alegria, which means always joy, always happiness. Okay, but I saw what that meant. I saw what it meant. It means that when it's not lacquer, like when the mosquitoes are biting and it's raining and you can't do your washing because there's no sun for a week, and whatever the reasons could be to be miserable, uh, so let's find the thing that will bring joy right now. Maybe it's like to pick up a guitar and start playing the guitar and forget about all those things just for this moment, right now in this moment. Maybe that's going to bring joy. Or maybe it's going to be to sit with a friend, and to connect with a friend in this moment. And they'll give time for that. So there's this feeling of joy, and they, like, even if the conditions are hard, like it's nighttime and we're on the boat on the Judea and we don't have any light, and it's like, I'm freaking out, but it's just tranquility and joy. It's like, okay, this is the situation, don't worry, it's going to be good. So And why these were impactful to me, because these theoretically these concepts I understand, right? But these people they're living it. They're living these concepts, and they have this trust. They just trust. They trust because they understand. And this is what took me just about integration. Is it took me about a month to get back into understanding the city and the frequency of the city and the movement and you know all the different responsibilities every month and everything how the flows happen here. Um, because in the village it's just like there's no difference between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's just like they're just flowing. They're living with whatever's going on in that moment, whatever's happening now. There's no routine. There's not like every night they're going to sleep at 9. There's no routine. But the only routine there is that first thing, just as the sun's coming up, the roosters are going to cock-a-doodle-doo. And the minute that happens, someone's going to put some music on really, really loud, and that's going to go for the next like 6 hours. And that's part of it. It's like the sol alegria. It's like always be happy, even if it's like, here's another day. Because the minute the sun comes up, the mosquitoes come out. That's really essentially how it happens. But just the last thing on the village, and it was very special. And I'm going to share about the medicines, the Kambo. I'll explain it because I really had amazing teachings while I was there. Um, but the village isn't for everyone, and I just want to explain this up front. The village is not for everyone. The village is, it's like another level of hardcore, and it's something I only understood once I was there, as in the conditions and as in um, all the energy of the village and maybe even the intentions of the village and what's going on there. And that people are good, people are trustworthy, people are reliable, but it's not simple in the village. It's like it requires a lot of want to be in the village. That's what I understood. Like, so if someone says no, but I want to drink medicine and I want to go to the Amazon and I want to do these things. So there are obviously other ways of doing that. So like, for example, different retreat centers that are out there, which it's not a village, but you're drinking original medicine with original healers and they're working with you, etc. But the retreat centers are set up in a way where there's like, hot water and there's a toilet and there's a shower and there's a bed, off the ground. And so it's like a little bit, so that's transition from like wherever someone's living in the city now to like the village. That's what I'm saying is quite a large transition. And there are other options, like people can go to retreat centers and spend time in a retreat center and also have an authentic experience, but just have a bit more comfort. So different teachings, of course, but to work with these medicines.
That is so so brilliant. So like they really live in unison with the jungle. Like you said, they get everything from the jungle. And while you were talking, I was thinking about all my responsibilities living in a city, right? So we've got the bills to pay, uh, your rent, we have to go buy food, I have to service my car, I have maintenance on the house, um, there's things to do for the kids, there's school activities, there's just like a whole endless list. I mean, I haven't even started talking about taxes yet, right? You got to do your all this admin just to be in the flow of the city, like you explained. The city has a flow, and we've got this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got the weekday, we've got public holidays, we've got this whole thing set up. But you explained like the Huni Queen don't have any concept of that. They don't have any concept of public holidays, weekends, tax returns, um, I don't know, bills to pay, expenses. They're just living with in unison with the jungle, getting what they need from the jungle, embodying this always be happy kind of vibe, which is so cool. I mean, that they had the intelligence to embody it, not just to say it and to preach about it and have talks about it, but they're actually living it and doing it. And this is what the children grow up seeing, right? The children see the adults having music, having a fun time, even though things are bleak, they're still smiling and the children grow up to become those very same adults. And I'm just thinking, like in the city, we've got completely different role models, right? That the children are looking up to. Adults here are not always happy. They vent out their anger. There's road rage. There's endless crime and dishonesty, and it's like a whole different energy and flow that the Western culture has. It's so beautiful to hear that the Huni Kuin and all these other villages in the jungle are custodians of what it can be like. And yeah, it's just so beautiful to hear that. But you went there, Moshe, for a specific reason. Besides just sharing a cultural exchange, you also went there to study about the medicines, a different couple of medicines. We've spoken about ayahuasca, Kambo, Hape, and Sinanga. But let's zone in on the interesting one for today's topic, one that's not really spoken about a lot. There's enough videos out there on ayahuasca, probably thousands, if you search for it on YouTube or Google. But Kambo is not that well known outside of South America. Maybe it's starting to get a bit of reputation or um, some notice at the moment. But Kambo is uh, an excretion from a frog in the jungle. And you've explained a little bit about this frog and the special type of excretion and what it can do for you as when you use it as a plant medicine. But maybe give us an intro so we can talk about this lovely, powerful medicine that people can use.
So the Kambo is by far one of my, I would say, greatest teachers at this point in my life. Um, I met this Kambo process, this healing application from the Kambo probably like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I had a Kambo process that I did. I wasn't really aware exactly what it was, but I was like, okay, kind of keen. It was a detox, and I wanted to clean my body, and I had this process then, and it was so intense. It's a secretion, like I said, a secretion from a certain frog. It's called the Medusa bicolor. That's like the intelligent name, and the tribe call it Kambo, and it's an amazing healing that it does for the body. But what happens is this frog, I think it's also called the tree monkey frog, and it's a frog that secretes a poison slash medicine from its skin. So if an animal is trying to attack it from outside, the entire external layer of this frog, it doesn't shoot it out, it doesn't projectile out, it just secretes this creamy sort of secretion. And the minute that an animal's mouth, tongue, or paws or whatever touches this frog over here, and then that will touch the animal will go into a sort of um, cardiac arrest type of state. So essentially, that's this frog, and it's a frog that it lives within the native part of the. It's native to the Amazon jungle. It's got thousands of years history that these tribes, the Huni Kuin, have been working with this frog medicinally. So essentially, this amazing story that I heard. I didn't hear it directly from my tribe. I heard it from a person who is like really top Kambo facilitator who had done a lot of research about the different tribes. And when I heard this story, I understood it. It resonated. It made sense that it was true to me. This is what I understood it. So the story of Kambo is that there was a Paje who was a part of a village. He was the healer of a village. And his village started to get sick. People were getting sick to the extent that people were dying. And he was really upset about this. So he made himself a brew of medicine. He took two different medicines from the Amazon jungle. He cooked them together. And he drank this medicine with the question, his intention was, what do I need to do to help heal my people, the people that are in my village? And what happened was at 3 o'clock in the morning, he was woken up and he had the medicine that he had drank. He was woken up, and the consciousness said to him, go through the village, keep going, walk through the village now, you have to go now. And he walked through the village, and then all of a sudden he started hearing the barking of a sound, like a bah, bah, bah kind of sound. And this consciousness said to him, listen to that, follow it, follow that sound. And he followed it till he got to a tree. And there he saw this frog. And this consciousness came again, and it said, take the frog, but be careful, because if you get any of those secretions on your body, you're going to hurt yourself. But keep this frog. And he asked, but how's this going to heal my village? What do I do? And he got this download, this flash of information that showed him how to apply the Kambo and how to use it in incremental amounts for healing as a medicine. And once he's finished with it, to release the frog back into its natural habitat, and only to take the medicine that he needs for what he needs. Okay, so not to take it and to start, mass producing it, but if there's a case that someone needs it, to take it and use it for that case. And so that's what he did. He took this frog and he went back to his village, and he understood how to harvest, so to speak, the secretion without hurting the frog. And he took what he needed and he let the frog go. And that morning he started to apply this Kambo onto his village, and the people started to heal. So now that story is a story that's spoken about from thousands of years ago, and there's lots of different tribes that hold that story as a truth. So even though they're different tribes, they all relate to that story. At some point, that's a part of their lineage as well, that story. So that's what I know about the healing and how Kambo came into the consciousness of the healing of the Huni Kuin people, and how they use this medicine. It's quite fascinating. So it's a medicine that if it was put onto someone's tongue or into someone's eye, it wouldn't react as a medicine, it would react like a poison. But to work as a medicine, it goes into the skin. So what they do is they open up what they call gateways, which is like a jungle's way of giving a vaccination, basically. They don't use injections or anything like that. They'll open up one layer of skin, and they'll put a bit of the medicine onto that layer. They'll open another layer, they'll put some medicine, another layer, put that medicine, another layer, put that medicine. And in that way, what happens is the medicine goes into the body, and as it goes into the body, it starts scanning the body, and it starts checking in the body what's waste and what's not waste, what needs to be there and what doesn't need to be there. And then essentially it scans throughout the entire body, and it starts moving back from the feet all the way up the knees, all the way through all the organs of the gut and the liver and the diaphragm. The whole process of the body gets completely scanned and cleaned. And then what happens is the person will have like a really intense projectile purge, which will be like sort of clear water that will come out um, at first, and then afterwards it's like, not all cases are the same, by the way, but generally, and then this like very bright sort of yellow color purge, which is the gut and the organs at the gut, around the gut, that clears out. And it has 6 or 7 different peptides, and these sort of go. What happens is there's like a scanning that goes through the body on a cellular level, and it checks each cell, and it sees what's waste, and it sort of moves it out, and whatever's good, it sparks that and it boosts that, and it sort of clears through the body, clears and detoxes a person's body. And that detox is a detox that happens physically, so the person has a physical detox, but that physical detox also is connected to their emotional state and the mental state. So if the person has, say, a form of depression, or they're stagnant in their life, procrastination, because in the jungle, if you procrastinate, you become food. If you're not active and moving and making sure your space is clean and your space is kept, then animals come closer and you become the food of animals. So there has to be. So this is what they use over there. Um, they they use it for those reasons. They use it for cleansing of the body, for vitalizing the heart and the mind, for curing things like depression. When Western people come there, it's really good for them to work with these medicines, because we carry a lot of the West and we carry a lot of that all those things you mentioned before, and the challenges of the West, and the traumas that we have, and the traumas that are continuously happening around us, etc., and that we're hearing about, and the fears and all that kind of stuff. So what the Kambo does is it wipes that stuff out the body. It removes that from the body, because that's not truth. And my own observation about this frog is so this isn't factual, and this isn't from their perspective, but what I've viewed about this frog is it looks like every time someone has Kambo, it's almost like a piece of the frog, even though it's coming through the frog's secretion, but it feels like a piece of the frog's energy goes into the body, through the skin, obviously, goes into the body, and then it realizes it's not meant to actually be there, because this isn't its body, this is a human body, and then it starts moving out, and it sort of comes out, it comes out, and it brings everything that isn't supposed to be there out at the same time. And then generally the person's face will swell. Once the Kambo leaves the body completely, they have a swollen face, um, from 10 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the person's recovery and how they are. And then after that, they'll feel really like revitalized, good. They'll still have normal human experiences to experience, but their energy will be strong, their immune system will be strong, um, revitalized. They'll really release a lot of things from Kambo. So, but Kambo it's a calling. I don't think it's a process that every single person should do. There's some process I do think that most people should do, but Kambo is a calling. It's like a specific person who's meant to work with that frog and have a clearing from that frog. They'll know that they're supposed to. They'll know that this is something I'm supposed to be doing. Kambo doesn't need a billboard anywhere or an advertisement anywhere, because the truth is that people that are supposed to have Kambo, they feel the calling and they find their way to the Kambo. And then the other thing about Kambo, and this is again my observation, um, is that it's not just a detox, but it's also like a meeting, an internal meeting with the Amazon jungle. It's like there's a wisdom there as well. It's not just cleaning out your body. There's also wisdom. It may teach something. It might show you something. It might show you something that you should change. Uh, because the Kambo, you see, the releasing part happens after the build up, and the build up is like, so from the point that the Kambo gets applied, it's not like straight into purging, but there's a build up where that medicine's going into the body, and your body's sort of understanding what is this thing, and it starts building and building and building and building until it gets to a point where that actual releasing, that detoxing is starting to happen. So through that building part, there's often a lot of teachings and wisdom that gets imparted, because this is from a creature that has been living in the Amazon jungle in natural habitat, in complete balance its entire life, and sort of these secretions are part of that energy that also go into the body. So recently, I did some Kambo. I've been accredited by the Huni Kuin to facilitate Kambo here in South Africa. So I recently did a Kambo experience where, my experience when I have Kambo, it feels like I'm being poisoned in the moment, and then all of a sudden I'm purging, I'm purging, I'm purging. So that's my experience. But and when I see other people, so the guy, like, he's actually enjoying this. He's like, I'm like, you enjoying it? He's like, yeah, it's like actually like a really interesting tingling in my body right now, and it's like really, So and then eventually he's starting to purge, and he's not talking to me about enjoying things anymore. But I'm saying, like, each person sort of interacts with it because it's an intelligence. It's not just a detox. It's not just to say it's just like a medicine would be to almost like take away something over there. It's like it's a connection. It's a meeting with the Amazon, as well as a detox and a cleansing. And so that's sort of how I've had an understanding of the Kambo. And every time I've worked with it and I've had an application with someone, they've had really incredible results, and they've given me quite powerful feedback. So yeah, it's an unwinding. It's an unwinding, but it's an incredible medicine. Very, very incredible medicine. Can I just share one more thing about the Kambo? Okay, good is that. It's interesting the story about how the Kambo came. Because the way the story goes is that the guy went and he drank some medicine with an intention of how to heal his village, and then he was woken up at 3 a.m. and he was sort of moved towards a certain area. So it's interesting because when I heard that, that's really what happened to me. I mean, I didn't have his same crisis or dynamic, so to speak, right? But I was there, and the next thing I was woken up, and it was 3 a.m. in the morning, and my paje said to me, Moshe, Kambo. And I said, that's how I woke up, Moshe, Kambo. So I woke up, I'm like, okay, Moshe, Kambo, let's go, let's go, you know. So I quickly get all the things that I need, and my water, and my flashlight, and whatever I think I need, you know, put on my boots, and we start missioning out into the village, but it's pitch dark. I mean, it's like, can't see anything. I've got my little flashlight that's helping me a bit, and I'm busy walking there, like, completely ignorant to like what's about to happen or what we're actually doing there. You know, I just know Moshe Kambo. That's what I'm moving on. You know, and eventually we start getting to this place where I can start seeing trees, but it's very very dark. And then all of a sudden, I start noticing. I pay attention to the sounds around me, and I can hear an orchestra of frogs, and not just one type, many different types, like probably like 30 or 40 different types of frog sounds that are happening all around, different species, and I can hear them croaking very loud, but it's from a distance. And then all of a sudden I hear bah, bah, bah. And my paja points to the sound and he says to me, Kambo. Okay, because we couldn't speak really with a very broken English, so I really related a lot on body language, and we sort of worked it out. And you know, when there was Wi-Fi, I could get a translation in or out, but it was very scarce. So he said to me, Kambo. So I understood, oh, this specific sound is the Kambo frog. And we started following that bark. We started following that sound, that croak, until we got to a specific tree. And then we found the Kambo frog. And like it was quite incredible. I mean, this frog was on like the second or the third branch of this tree, like really high up. And I'm busy thinking to myself, okay, he wants to catch it. How do we catch it? And just we're gonna need a ladder. And I'm like, I'm still trying to work out where to get the ladder, and the one oak's already come down with the frog, and he's got it in his hand. You know, he's holding it in his hand. So he puts that frog aside into the bucket, and they leave the frog with like a little bit of air so it can breathe, but so it can't get out. And they take it in the bucket, and we caught that was him teaching me how to catch the camo frog, where it is, what time at night or what time in the morning you'll find it, because you know once the sun starts coming up you won't find the camo frog anywhere there, and which type of trees, which kind of space and terrain you'll find it in and what to look for. So that was my first experience with the camo frog. Then basically it was about from 4 a.m. until 5 a.m. We waited until the sun rose. Until the sun rose, yeah. Once the sun started rising, we walked all the way to the big samauma tree in the other part of the village. And over there, he opened the gateways for me at the samauma tree. I had to drink 2 liters of water, which I only had like a liter of water on me, which I had drank. So he was a bit concerned. So they filled a bucket of water from the lake by the Samauma tree where its roots go through. And I started drinking this water they were giving to me. I was just purging from the water. I was like, this water it looked more, like the still, like really ancient, probably very pure and beautiful water. But to my body, it was like, whoa, that's like, um, and then I received the Kambo from him over there, and he started off by taking the secretion off the frog and then putting the secretion onto the gateways, um, and then eventually he just took the entire frog as it was and just sort of rubbed the frog as it was onto the different gateways that were there, and the Kambo very quickly started activating. It was hard to tell how much went in but it definitely came out. Um, and that was it. That was the beginning of my Kambo process over there. And then over the course of the 4 weeks that I was there, I went through different sort of depths of the Kambo at each point, and um, but each time he would take the actual frog as it's secreting all the secretions, and then just start rubbing all those secretions onto the gateways. And for about a week, all I saw when I closed my eyes, I just see this frog. I could just see its face, and I could see like its energy, and I could just see it. And um, so so yeah, that was like Kambo. Then obviously a couple nights later, they woke me up again, Moshe and Kambo, and now it was my turn to catch the frog, and I had to now go and catch the frog and make sure. And as I caught the frog, it was an amazing experience. But as I had caught the frog, he reminded me, uh, be careful, hands. So, and then as he said that, I remember, oh, whoa, I've got to be very conscious of my hands, what I touch my eyes, what I do with my hands afterwards. As I put the Kambo frog into the container, into the bucket, if I just wash my hands with water, it will neutralize the Kambo immediately. So water will immediately neutralize any of the medicine or poison on the finger, secretion on the finger. So that's what I did. So I caught the frog. Ended up catching it a couple of times. We had like this miraculous experience. We went out to catch the Kambo frog, and we were a bit late. Actually, I woke up late, so when I got there, I realized that my paja had already gone, and he saw that I had overslept, so he had already gone. So I quickly ran there, and as we got there, I saw him and his wife there. They were busy looking for the frog, and they couldn't find it. So right there, I stopped there. I started praying and said, "Please, please, can we find a Kambo frog? Please, can we find a Kambo frog?" And I walked a little bit further, and then the next thing, my paja goes, "Oh, Kambo!" And he finds it in the tree, and he says, "You, Moshe, you." So he wants me to catch it. So I pull the branch down, and I quickly get the Kambo. I've got the frog in my hand, and as I'm holding the frog like this, another frog walks off the branch onto my paja's shoulder. And my paja looks like this, and he just sees another Kambo frog on his shoulder. He looks at his wife, and they just start laughing. They've never seen anything like this before. This frog just sort of jumped. So anyway, so it was a really beautiful experience. Catching the frog, also harvesting the frog. Like I heard a lot of uh, things before that, like they mistreat the frog and they treat it badly. So it doesn't happen with the Huni Queen for sure, 100%. They do not mistreat any of the animals. Even they have dogs there in the village for their own like safekeep and protection. And the way they treat the dogs, they treat them like really like with lots of love. And all the animals over there, they treat with lots of respect. So the frog, when they take in the secretion off the frog, they're not harming it in any way. It's very gentle. They just gently hold it, and they take a wooden spatula and they just rub it over the skin of the frog, and it takes off the secretion. And that secretion saves human beings' lives. It like changes the lives for people. So from the frog's consciousness, if it could speak, from the Huni Queen's understanding, the frog wants people to work with this medicine if they need it. That's why it's providing it, so to speak. Um, when you go to try and when we would go to catch the Kambo frog, like the frog wouldn't run away. It wouldn't try and like run away. Its defense mechanism is this secretion, and that's what's so beautiful about this message. Is it's saying, if you're coming after me because you're trying to kill me and hurt me, then know what I have is a poison. But if you're coming after me because you need help for this thing, no, what I have is a secretion. This is a medicine. And that's what the Kambo frog is saying, like saying to the animals that are trying to, prey on it, whoa, be careful. But to the humans that need the healing, to the tribes that have access to this medicine in this tradition, yes, here's a medicine for you. And then just the final point of the Kambo, I could speak about it for another 2 hours, just by the way, but is that the way the tribe taught me, and the way the villagers taught me how to work with the Kambo is how to get a maximum shifting without going into any of the ego spaces. Because in the ego spaces, that's where things go wrong and people could get hurt with this medicine and all of that kind of thing. And they're not teaching that because that's not really what it's about. So what it's about is the detox. It's about getting whatever's blocked in the gut and stuck in the gut and blocking the heart and bringing the negative frequencies in the mind. So getting that energy out of the body, releasing that energy, and having a meeting time with this consciousness of this frog that's from the Amazon jungle that our creator put there for us to have a healing. So that's really the way they teach it. So the way they teach it is more what I would call the school of humility, where it's not about not like no one's going to get hurt. You will have a process. You will purge. Probably if you're supposed to, you will purge. You will have a cleansing of the body, but you won't get hurt. And really the way that they say it is that it's ideal to do Kambo in 3 sessions. One session is like a cleansing, it's a shock, it's unfamiliar. But then after that, what happens is each session, it's the Kambo because you're releasing from a certain layer, a certain level, and then the next session you can always release a deeper level, and the next one, a deeper level. But again, like I said, it's a calling. People know, even though you might not know the medicine, you might not know the frog, and it's all new to you, you'll know if you're supposed to and when you're supposed to. You'll know.
But it's so amazing that this technology is actually there in nature, right? I mean, you mentioned the characteristics of this frog. It doesn't swim very fast. It can't jump very quick. It can't get away from attackers or predators. So over its evolution, it has come up with this defense mechanism of secreting this poison, right? And I think you mentioned to me that this poison actually paralyzes the person who consumes it. So if a jaguar or some other predator tries to eat it and they get the poison, they get paralyzed because it attacks the nervous system. But when you use it as a medicine, it's and you're obviously using it in tiny, tiny quantities that the Huni Kuin have understood. You're not putting a huge, you know, mouthful of Kambo into someone. You're just putting like tiny little amounts. Um, but that has the ability to go into the body and to trigger a very quick detox, a detox that comes on like within a few minutes, right? You start purging, projectile vomit, getting stuff out. And I think you also mentioned it gets stuff from the organs, from the cells, like it's really pulling up all the gunk from the body, from all the little crevices, and then getting it into the gut, and then you're getting it out of your system by vomiting it out. It's so absolutely amazing that this medicine exists, and how the paje that you mentioned, paje is like almost like a shaman, I would say, right? I mean, that's what the Westerners become familiar with. But you said the paje had the dream, or source speaking to him, guiding him into the jungle, following the specific sound of that Kambo, right? I mean, it's like out of the tons of species of different frogs and other amphibians, the jungle, this one's got that specific kind of croak. It's so absolutely amazing. So my experience with Kambo, because I had the opportunity to do Kambo with Moshe, and I must admit, before doing the Kambo, I was very scared. I was a bit uneasy about like this process because Moshe explained a bit to me about what to expect, and we had the previous podcast, but I was still very uneasy about injecting a poison into my being. What's it going to do? Like, what if it doesn't work out as planned? But there was a part of me that was also trusting, like Moshe said, it calls you. There was a calling, and everything just aligned at that time. I just got like a little bit of money in my account out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, it's the same amount that I need for a Kambo session. So things were aligning for me. It felt like I was getting called, that I needed to do something like this. So my experience, now that I've come through it, it's like actually not such a big deal. It's as long as you with a very good facilitator, and I think Moshe has got some very good training from the OGs, right? the real OGs of this plant medicine. So if you're with a good facilitator, it's actually very, very straightforward and simple. Yes, the vomiting part is a bit tricky. That build up, after that medicine is applied onto your gateways, that build up while you're waiting to vomit is a bit uncomfortable, but nothing that is too difficult, I would feel. Like it's just a process. It just triggers a process, and you just like go with the flow. Just trust that your body is sort of knowing what it's doing, and the medicine is knowing what it's doing, and it's all natural. And you just sort of trust and release into what's happening, and you have that huge projectile vomit session, and then there's like nothing coming out yet, but you're still full of that Kambo in your body, and you're sort of waiting for, or maybe the Kambo's out, but you're waiting for your body to come back to normal. I could feel like you mentioned the puffy face. I could feel like my face was just like a balloon. Not that I could see it, but it felt like a balloon in a way. And it takes some time to get back to normal. But an hour or so later, I was, fully back to normal. I had a client that afternoon. I had to do all my responsibilities back in the city, fetch my daughter from school and do this and cook food and sort out some admin. Fully back to normal. I think I even went to jujitsu that night. Um, so yeah, it was very, very, very interesting. So to anyone thinking about Kambo and worried about it, please do not be worried. It's actually very straightforward, very simple. It's not a long, 10-hour story like ayahuasca, and you have to go stay over and, do a retreat type of thing. I'm sure you can do that for Kambo, but this one's a much shorter. It's much more compact. Your recovery time is much faster. The whole session, is very short. Obviously, there's ceremony involved, and in Moshe's case, he also gave me the opportunity to do some hape and some sananga at the same time. So I was very grateful to do all of them, and it was just a very good ceremony process that I had with Moshe. So hape details are below the video. Get in touch with them if you are interested to learn more about this amazing stuff. Moshe, we really appreciate all your wisdom, your endeavors. You're going right out into the heart of the information and living it and experiencing it and coming back to share with us. This is such powerful medicine. I felt rejuvenated, after that. It took a few days to integrate, but yeah, I felt so much lighter. Like Moshe said, I've hardly been sick. My children have been very sick with all the traveling I've done. My wife has been sick, but I just had like a slight little blocked nose for a few days, runny nose, but like nothing as serious as the rest of my family. So the detox is amazing, and yeah, I can't wait for my next Kambo session where I can release a deeper layer. So when the time comes, I'll be getting in touch, Moshe. But Moshe, anything else you'd like to share about this amazing, amazing medicine?
Um, everything about the Kambo is for viewers. It's worthwhile just checking out, like on Google, a picture of the Kambo frog, Huni Kuin. It's a fascinating looking frog. It's just really, really fascinating. It's got like really big eyes. Like it knows it's carrying wisdom. It like sits there and it knows it's carrying wisdom. And like if anyone upsets it, it just secretes its poison, but or the medicine, however you see it. But it's like it's just sitting. Um, yeah, camo special, but for yeah, just to get a visual of the camo frog is really really important. It changed a lot of things once I actually saw what the frog looks like. Um, and yeah, just basically the other medicines, the Sananga that you mentioned now. Um, this is also a fascinating medicine because it's a root that is grown in somewhere in the Amazon jungle, and they take out this root and they carve the bark off the root, and that gets cooked into a pot at different ratios and degrees, concentrations, then they remove the bark, and then what's left over there is the sananga. It's just like one drop. Now, with plant-based medicines, there's no magic bullet. There's not like a medicine that someone takes once and then now the rest of their life is amazing, because trauma happens over time, and low self beliefs that a person might have, they build up over time. So these medicines, they work on different layers. They can move someone from a certain bandwidth to a new bandwidth, to a certain way of thinking, to a completely new way of thinking, for the good. So they can do this, but there's no magic bullet. So every time someone engages holistically and responsibly with different plant-based medicines, they'll have another shift and another realization, another release, etc. So Sananga for me is something quite profound. Get a drop on both sides of the eyes while the eyes are closed, and then the facilitator will ask you to open your eyes. Once you open your eyes, the medicine goes into your eyes, and then it starts burning. Now, it's a burn that's a healthy burn. It's not a dangerous burn, it's a healthy burn, but it's quite burning. So while that burn happens, you have to breathe and just focus on the breath, and through the breath find your peace. And when you find your peace, the burning is not so bad anymore because you found your peace, and then this medicine could start teaching. If you don't find your peace and you're just suffering on the pain and focusing on the pain, then it's just a very uncomfortable process, and you don't really get the deep teaching. It will obviously still help on an ocular level and with the eyes, etc. But it won't take someone from like you know, terrible eyes to great eyes, but it will definitely improve the eyes. It improves, so it's sort of, it's a medicine of the eyes. So it physically cleans out the eyes. It will purge out anything that's not supposed to be there. It's safe for the eyes. And then what it does is sort of a cleansing of the third eye. So whatever that means, you know, if the, it could be thoughts, it could be as well. So it sort of cleanses the third eye. So you put the drops through the eye, go through the burning, find the peace, breathe, 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 and it allows all the tension and all the anxiety, anxious kind of energy to just sort of be flushed and move through the body. And this sananga they call eagle vision, because it's a medicine that they use before hunting, and it helps the eyes so that when they're going out hunting and they're looking around, they can see from the further visions, they can see more clearly. Um, and the other joke is people call it ice cream, because when you put on the eyes, your eyes scream. So it's but this is the sananga, very 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 special medicine, and the sananga and the kambo. These medicines, they work together. They have relationship. So to have the sananga on the eyes and to have a cleansing of the third eye and the physical eye, to be able to have that process, which is like 5-10 minutes, depending how the medicine works for the person, and then to just give a little bit of time, just to like sort of recover, get settled, and then to start with the kambo. And the Kambo basically takes everything in the body and just moves it out. What's not supposed to be. What's supposed to be there, it's going to leave exactly where it's supposed to be, even better than it was before. And then anything that's not supposed to be there, it's just going to move it out the body, completely out the body. So, yeah, these medicines are technologies. Like you said, I have this strong belief that the creator of this universe has put these technologies there for those people to come across who are searching, who do want to have better lifestyles, better life within themselves, and they will find these medicines, and they'll be able to work with them and to be able to shift and let go of shame or guilt or sadness or anger, all these energies that are so easy to take on here in the city or in life. And these medicines are there to help people move through these things if they use correctly, and to shift these things if they use correctly. So yeah, Kambo is not something someone could get addicted to. It's not physically addictive. I laugh like that because it would be a crazy idea to get addicted to it. Um, but it's a cleanse. So even if someone was going through drug rehabilitation, Kambo would be great for them as a cleanse, because it would actually cleanse a lot of that chemical energy out of their body completely. Um, I've heard also from not from the Huni Queen, but from an apprentice who's been working with the Huni Queen for a long time. I said to her, but what about COVID? I mean, these big shamans, they're leaving the jungle, they're going to have to get injections and to fly. What, are you crazy? I said, no, it doesn't matter. They're not worried about the injection. One Kambo, it's going to reset everything. There's no COVID injection that has Kambo built into its manufacturing, when they manufactured it. So this is a medicine that can clean things out the body. It can shift things out the body. So that's Kambo.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. And this is what we love about the show that we've put together here. And Moshe has been contributing a number of times, but this is true ancient wisdom. This is wisdom of nature that's been downloaded through interdimensional communication, you could say, and the custodians, the Huni Queen and the other tribes have held this knowledge, like held it and nurtured it and passed it down from generation to generation, from master to student, and then from master to student, and that's what we love here. Ancient wisdom straight to you to help your life right now. And that's what Kambo can do for you. Moshe, we really appreciate your time, your wisdom again, and all the efforts that you've gone through. And we look forward to your next time, because I'm sure we're going to have more and more chats as you continue sharing with everyone what you've come across.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Really appreciate the time here.
Okay, everyone. Till next time. Ciao for now.